Yeah, I realized that it was kind of hard to ask this one asynchronously, as evidenced by no one really responded to it, either as a circumstance of just being busy or perhaps it was just difficult to understand how and when to respond. So let me
Hmm.
open it.
Yeah, I think the hurdle for me was that it looked like about three links that I needed to click into,
Yeah.
and it seemed I was like, oh, I'll have to carve out a bit more time for this one so I can, kind of figure out what's going on.
Hmm. Yeah, no, I get that. Um, the most important one was the comment that one of our front end devs, Rob, left. So when exporting a CSV from GitLab, it seems that we have two existing patterns for that. One is this email gets generated and sent to you once GitLab has finished processing this bigger file. And then the other one is it can happen within GitLab and you get like a normal prompt to like save the file. But that's usually used when it's much smaller and it can happen pretty quickly.
Hmm.
The struggle then becomes like, what do you do when you're like in between something that's not going to take like 10 minutes, but it's also not going to take like 30 seconds? And the back end and front end team were kind of spiking to play with this secondary option. So something that might take a little bit longer than 30 seconds, but you might not leave the page and are willing to like wait for the download link to appear.
Hmm.
So Ice, she's one of our backend developers. She put together this quick demonstration of like how this might actually work. So when you go to hit the generate report button, essentially, it's building it for you, and then eventually it's done, and you get a link to download it, which she just shows as another button on the screen. So there's still time to like refine how the UX itself would play out,
Oh,
but it's a newer pattern of just showing like getting the download from within GitLab. So then I went on to kind of play with it a little bit. I recorded a video showing how it would look, potentially cleaning up the UX a bit. So I tried using just alerts and replacing them. Rob's
there
idea
you go.
was
Yeah.
maybe not use all alerts because it might be hard to do it with front end. So maybe using a toast notification to let you know that like it's generating the report, and then use an alert to tell you when the download link is ready.
I like how you've placed the download link in the alert banner. Um,
Hmm.
that was kind of my first piece of feedback from the
Yep.
previous video.
Okay.
Because I was looking at it and it felt more like a pattern for, go check your email for the download link.
Hmm.
And yeah, that's a tough one. I also wonder if maybe there's an option where the download link is visible but disabled until the link is actually ready.
Yeah,
So
I
there
was.
isn't something like just
Mm,
appearing on the page, but you can go back and look at that object to see if it's ready.
yeah, and I think potentially one of the constraints is that the user needs to stay on the page. I think
Yeah,
if they navigate away, it would break it.
yeah, because
Um,
it's an alert. Yeah.
yeah, I don't even know if it's necessarily an alert. I think it might be the way that the service is running. I'd have to check with
Mm.
backend and see how it actually is configured.
What's the
But there's something in the
what's
discussion about that.
yeah, what's the job to be done? Have you written a job statement for this?
Um, so the functionality is already there. Like you can already export the file and it's doing this quick polling persistent. You're getting just a CSV. The problem is we're adding in new um, columns, I believe, that are taking longer to pull back from the database. And so that's taking longer to generate the report. So the
Hmm.
job necessarily hasn't changed. Like essentially the compliance manager or the auditor needs to extract this data. It's just more about like how do we give it back to them. And so we were going, well, do we change the whole experience to go back to the email thing where we say, hey, you'll get an email in who knows how long? Make sure you check that.
Yeah.
Or do we maybe introduce this newer way of doing it?
Another option could be to open a new window or slash tab, but open a new view in a new tab or window. And that would be the place where the compliance person can go back and see if it's ready. Like basically the page would be, preparing your file page. And then they could have that page open, go back and look at it. When it's ready, the link will be visible. When it's not ready, it'll say we're preparing your download. Because I think some of the constraints you're facing are because we're trying to do this on one page, on the same page. A boring yet usable solution might be a new window or a new tab.
Yeah.
Just for the download link.
Yeah, I could share that as an option and see what the backend and front end team thinks in terms of complexity. Because obviously we're trying to balance the, well, what's already there is there and it's easier to implement than creating something new. So we're just pulling that tug of war.
How often are CSVs downloaded for this particular job to be done?
I couldn't give you a quantification on numbers, but what I've heard from users is the CSV data is very important to them for sharing with external auditors or for manipulating the data for themselves. So it seems like it's a primary action of people related to compliance as they want to get hands-on with the data to either pull it into their systems, share it with somebody else, or dig for more information.
Okay. That opens other possibilities where they could share the link to the CSV rather than emailing a CSV all around too. And who knows, maybe in the future you could have a downloads page, like every export you've ever requested, is in a list. But that's like future. I'm trying to think of other ways to possibly solve this. But that's all I've got.
I think my main concern was just, like, is it reasonable in this situation to consider an alternative method for allowing the user to acquire the CSV? So going against what we already have to try and fit the middle ground, because we don't seem to have a middle ground option when it comes to getting files out of GitLab. It's either very quick, here's your CSV, or whatever other file you get, JSON, so on and so forth. Or this is going to take a while, like exporting issues, and you're just going to have to sit and wait until we send you a link over email.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, the email experience isn't very good, right? Because it's like sending a request into a black hole until you actually get something back. And email just adds another layer of complexity too.
Yeah. But then it also goes back to your idea of, well, then you can just forward the email if that was your intent anyways. If you were just going to get that, download and attach it to an email anyways, now you've removed that step. But I don't think we fully understand how users are using the data from these reports yet.
I wonder if there's other products that have this type of export and what the experiences are like there.
Yeah, it's hard to say. At least I haven't been able to come across anything just yet doing this level of stuff, partially because I don't necessarily have like admin responsibilities that could create this type of report. And certainly I'm sure some of it is tied to the amount of data as well. So yeah, just creating a one-off example probably would keep it small and it'd just be like a download file. But anyway, yeah, I think this was good feedback. And what I was letting them know in that chat was, hey, I asked for some information, so I'll attach this recording for the team to review.
Yeah. What sort of things are people exporting? Like in that video, what was being exported? I didn't really catch the context of the page other than it had an export button.
Yeah, let me there's an issue somewhere that has more context. Let's see if I can find it real quick. Okay, so this was a link I put in that Slack message. I was outlining the different types of export functionalities and then the examples for when they're being used. And this was the proof of concept we were talking about. But from that one, I believe it's this one. Let's see if, oh, it just links to the docs. Does it have what comes in it?
So they're mainly exporting the compliance dashboard, or like compliance report.
It's not exporting the compliance dashboard. It's exporting it's exporting data related to the commits of a merge request.
Oh, right.
So yeah, let me see if I probably can export an example myself real quick and then look at it with what's already in it today.
Yeah, I mean, what if a compliance officer had their own view of like any export they've created?
Mm-hmm.
They have a page. Yeah. I don't know how they get to it, but you know, maybe from their profile or something.
Yeah, we have an issue open to investigate how these compliance managers would want to see potentially specific data within the dashboard view itself, but they still, well, at least the few that I've talked to, want this ability to pull the data out of GitLab because the people that they share the information with, they don't want to give access to GitLab. These would be like their auditors. It's like they want to be able to pull out merge commits, the authors, the merge requests are associated to, the pipeline group, project is associated with, the who approved it. So it goes to this like chain of custody. And so we're saying like, we want to be able to show like a chain of custody view and then give them the ability to extract the information beyond just what's in the UI for auditing purposes. They might only care about other things like code coverage, or they might care about the status of the pipelines for understanding what might need their attention, but their auditors want to see this like history of what actually occurred for each merge request. And so that's what that report's doing. It just doesn't seem super logical right now because the dashboard is in such a minimal state that it's just doing the bare minimum. Like, hey, here are merge requests, and then here's a way you can get all this data related to merge requests.
Okay. Are there any internal GitLab users that use this feature on a regular basis?
I would say the group that we're trying to get involved with using the dashboard is like Jeff Burrows and Liz Coleman's group.
Have you watched how they're
using it today? They aren't using it today.
Yeah, they've never had the need to export, do an export basically to date.
No, not as far as we know.
Okay. It'd be interesting to watch somebody use it who actually typically has a need to use it, and then share some like prototype or solution ideas with them to get their reaction.
Yeah, definitely. So I've been trying to ask them for feedback when we propose different ideas. And like Liz would comment like, oh, we haven't really used the dashboard today. And it's like, that's okay. Just tell me, based off of this issues proposal, like, is anything here helpful to you? Why or why not? Or like, what can we do to entice you to use the compliance dashboard? Like, what is it that's missing for you that would help you solve the job that you're trying to accomplish? And it could just be like, maybe we're at GitLab not the exact same persona that we're trying to solve for. So we might not have the same sort of regulation pressure that maybe other teams are feeling. Yeah. So that could be part of it. I know I talked to like one individual recently, and they were telling me like they spend just like half their job jumping around merge requests, checking to see what the pipeline did, checking to see how long someone spent reviewing the merge request, making sure the code coverage didn't decrease to show that they're compliant. It's like, I don't think we have people doing that, but those are the people we're trying to solve for.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Do you think it's possible to recruit some of those folks and do some solution validation with them?
You're saying like externally recruit those people?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's something that I would love to investigate further. How does it work if it's someone that like we've recruited through Respondent? Can we like reach out to them again and incentivize them again to do something with us, or?
Sure. Yeah, of course.
Okay.
I think,
Yeah.
I mean, the only thing you'd want to be mindful of is like that they're not too, that their framing isn't too primed, right? That, that you're still going to approach them with like a relatively fresh idea, rather than circling back to the same thing. But if you've iterated on it and you want their feedback again, that's also totally normal, you know. Whether you go through the like recruiting channel again, the research recruiting channel is kind of up for debate, I think. But yeah, I think it depends on like your relationship with them, your connection to them. Like if you feel like you could reach out to them over email and they would immediately like know who you are and understand what your request is, then I don't see any problem with just reaching back out to them.
Okay.
You still want to record it and put it in Dovetail and stuff, but.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense. Yeah, I just done a couple job to be done interviews, and 3 of the 6 externally were good.
Cool.
And I felt like, oh, these people will be great to talk to again. But yeah, other people that I've heard from are like some of our customers themselves, and it's just already hard to get time with them.
Yeah.
So we've kind of done this dance with like the salespeople to try and get time on some of their calls, and they've been kind enough to give us a little bit. But yeah, we did a little bit of solution validation on Thursday. Yeah, it was Thursday. And it was really great to hear some of their feedback. And they validated a lot of assumptions. They also invalidated a couple that we had as well. So that was good. It's just like, if we could just do more of that. It's just I've really come to learn it's very hard to recruit for this group, as evidenced by like the jobs to be done effort.
Yeah. 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 And I think as long as you're maybe like you are working with research recruiting, so we can make sure that we're not kind of over pinging someone. So maybe going through them, but then tell them, you know, like Emily or whoever we're working with for research recruiting, let them know like here are some names of people that we've talked to before that we'd like to talk to again, but also working with them so that we could uncover new people too. So yeah, I guess I'm talking out loud, but it does make sense to go back through research recruiting again, even though we know some, you know, top 3 people we'd like to talk to, just to make sure we're tracking like how often are we requesting people's time, and then still making opportunity to find new folks.
Yeah, I mean, I would say currently we aren't requesting much of anybody's time. At least the jobs to be done, that was all paid for research, which I'm sure people did on their own time. So
sometimes what can happen is other groups will request the same person's time. Yeah. And then we don't want them to feel like they're being over pinged by GitLab. Yeah.
No, that makes sense. Makes sense. Okay. Thanks, Mike. That was helpful.
You bet. I hope you got the feedback you needed. Maybe you could put another, you know, like bump that thread back up if you need more. But I think that was the hurdle for me. It was just that there was like 3 paragraphs and each one had a link that I had to click into, and I wasn't sure how long it would take me to wrap it.
I understand. Yeah, I understand. I tried to be succinct as possible, but sometimes I think this may be a good example of like, it was just easier to tell through words, and were able to come to an idea in
Mm-hmm.
10 minutes, whereas it probably would have taken you 30 to dig through the links and read.
Yep.
So, but I was okay with it. Like I posted the idea sometime last week. And I knew like if I didn't have any good feedback on Friday, I would have Monday to sync up with somebody if they had time.
Cool.
All right.
Awesome. All right. I'll have a good one. I'll talk to you
Yeah, I'll
soon.
talk to you later. Bye.